Hello, everyone. Thank you for tuning in to Journey of a Disability Warrior, the roads we've traveled. Today's guests are Norma and Peter Jones, and they're here to share their story in hopes of inspiring others who have been through a similar journey. Thank you both so much for joining me today.
Thank you for having us.
I didn't have this.
Yes, so we can get started by having both of you tell us a little bit more about yourselves.
You want me to start?
Yes, sir.
I'll start. My name is Norma Jones, and I am the mother of three. I have a grown son, grown daughter, and Peter is my youngest son. He made 28 years old yesterday. As a matter of fact, it was his birthday. I am an advocate, a volunteer. I also teach for a living, and that's about it. I live in Columbus, Mississippi, and I love it. Oh, I have a husband too.
What are some of your hobbies and things that you enjoy doing?
Oh, let me do it. Let's see.
What you like to do? Basketball.
I would do probably a manager anything.
Basketball manager, football manager.
Oh no,
Oh no, not basketball.
no,
Oh.
no.
Oh, okay. New Hope basketball.
Oh, football, yes.
New Hope football manager.
Yes. That's it.
That's it. What about bowling?
Yes, I do.
What about it?
I'm paying friends, family, and gather. Something and do.
Loving your friends and families, getting together and having stuff to do.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's great. Can you tell me a little bit about the online classes that you're taking?
Oh, okay. Got to Las Vegas. I went up my cast.
Las Vegas.
Yes. My teacher that small girl right now. And good. Read, book club, taekwondo, workout, and yoga, and dance fish.
Yep.
Party stuff.
Book club, yoga,
Dance party, fitness.
dancing parties.
By Bree.
And it's based out of Las Vegas, and we just happened to run across it, and he loves them. They do all kinds of activities. They cook a lot, do science experiments. What else?
Book club.
The book club.
Yes.
The reading. What are y'all reading right now? Holes.
Oh, a book by Specials.
Is it Holes?
Yes, Holes.
Holes. They're reading Holes in the book club this right now.
Yes.
So, Peter, can you tell me a little bit about your job and where you're working?
One that I work here in Commerce, Mississippi. A nail store.
What's the Palmer?
Commerce store.
Home.
Home store.
The Palmer Home
Home store.
Right.
What do you enjoy about that job?
I keep it and do them box and book and keep it and sell in clothes.
Clip it and sell the clothes and sorting the clothes and all that stuff.
Yes, I give
that
away
right?
and throw it away and keep it.
Oh, okay. Oh, some stuff you keep, some throw it away.
Yes.
Okay, Norma, can you tell me a little bit about when Peter was a baby and getting and receiving his diagnosis? Can you just take me back to that time and tell me a little bit about how that was for you and your family?
Oh, absolutely. I remember Peter is my last baby, and we thought we were done. And he surprised us. He came along as a little surprise, and I did not get a prenatal diagnosis. I got the diagnosis the day that he was born. Well, they thought that maybe, and we did some karyotyping, my doctor did, and the karyotyping came back a couple of weeks later, and he did have trisomy 21, which is the 3 chromosomes at the 21st throughout his genes. And so once that happened, I had never been exposed to anybody with Down syndromes, didn't know anything about it at all. And so it was a brand new world. It was scary. It was intimidating. I was sad. I was shocked. There were a lot of different things that I felt, and not sad because Peter was also my first natural born boy. Before that, I had girls. And so I was very happy about that, but I was just very afraid. I didn't know what to expect. So, I had people telling me different things, and one lady told me that if he didn't smile by the third day, that he would never, you know, be able to move or function. And people just told me all kinds of things. I had no idea what to do. And the thing that I think saved me is I found a group. I knew that I couldn't make my baby's life a project. And so I had to figure out how to be a mother to a child with Down syndrome. And so I went in the telephone book really and just started looking for organizations. And I found the Down Syndrome Society. And then there was the other one that I found, and I just got with a group of parents. At this time, we lived in Chicago. Peter was born in Chicago. We moved to Columbus when he was 1.5 years old. And so I just started networking with other parents, and along the way, I was still shocked at some of the things that they were telling me about the delays that their children had. But I've eventually learned to look at the things that our children can do, not the things that they can't do, because it's very easy to focus on what they cannot do. But it's so many things that they do well and contribute to society. And so that group taught me that. And that's why it's so important to network with other parents that have been where you are, because it's scary. It's like very, very scary if you don't know what to expect.
And what message would you like to give parents and that are going through this new diagnosis in that early stage? Is there a particular thing you would like to tell them?
Absolutely. I think the thing that I would really like to say is you are not in it by yourself. You are not alone. So many people have gone through and seen the same thing that you are about to see, and along the way, people will help you. I've learned that our healthcare professionals have been some of our best friends. Before that, we just didn't have a whole lot of occasion to go to the doctor, but Peter's been PT, OT, everything. And so make friends with people that have been through. You don't isolate. A lot of parents have a tendency to isolate. A lot of parents have a tendency to go into denial. And when you go into denial, you automatically isolate yourself. And so I guess be open, be vulnerable, because you can't do it by yourself. We can't do it by ourselves, and do what's best for our children. If we try and isolate and do it on ourselves, it's not what's best for our children. We have to network. We have to have support, and we'll cry, and we'll cry because you cry for the child that you thought you would have, not for the one, because I love my son. I don't know what in the world I would do without him. My life would not be the same life, but you still cry for the child that you thought would be coming. But I guess my number one thing is do not isolate yourself, and reach out to whoever you can.
How do you see your role in Peter's life?
I think I see my role in his life is more, at this point in life, is more of a support person, somebody to support his ambitions and his dreams, and just try and not still function as a mother that's rearing a child, but as a mother that's supporting an adult child. And I try and stay in that. And sometimes it's kind of hard because he's my youngest, like I keep saying, he's my baby. He has special needs. And so it's easy for me to fall back into that I'm rearing him stage, but he's a grown man and I respect that. And I try and remember to always respect that. But yeah, I think I see myself more as a support and a loving parent that just loves a kid, a grown man kid.
What have you learned from Peter?
I think I've learned that boundaries that I thought that I expected at the beginning of his life and of this journey, that every day he surprises us with something different and something new. I learned that he is continuously learning and not to put limits on people. You know, we never put limits because we don't know potential. We don't know. Life is a lifelong learning journey, and we need to be open to that. People, his online classes, I mean, they do book clubs and they cook and they do experiments and that kind of thing. And so he he just it amazes me all the time for the new things that he's doing.
And Peter, what are some of the things that you learned from your mom?
How to cook. About like cleaning, stuff like that.
Yeah, clean. Dish.
Cleaning clothes.
Clothes.
What else?
Bathroom. Oh yeah, bathroom, yes. Bathroom and tub and toilet.
How to clean them all. Yeah, he learned how to clean for me for real.
So Norma, tell me about your tribe and why having support is so important.
Oh my goodness. Peter has like the best support in the world. He has an auntie that loves him like a mother. The same lady that was that's his attendant care worker. She's been with us since Peter was 7, over 20 years. We have another attendant care person that in this, I hesitate to call them attendant care because they've been around so long, they're like family. And so what we try and do is about at least every 3 or 4 months, we get together on a Zoom and just everybody get up to date on what's going on with Peter at that point, so that everybody can kind of stay in the loop. My daughter, he has his sister and her husband, and we just all try and just stick together and do what's best for him and make his life as rich as we can. But yeah, as a matter of fact, Tuesday, I had to work. And so I called my sister and asked her to go with Peter to a job. One person couldn't make it, so my sister made it. So it's like, if somebody is always on call to kind of help him out. Today, I called my mother and she did something to support him. And so I don't think he couldn't have had the life he has without that tribe and that support.
So Peter, what can you tell me about your friends and the people that you enjoy spending the most time with?
Jazz Smith. Oh, the Jazz Jones.
Jasmine Jones. What about her?
Just me. Yeah, I'm too.
What about Joseph?
Joseph Quinn.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he's a cool dude.
He's a cool dude. He's a cool dude.
Tell me about how parenting a young adult with Down syndrome has changed your life.
I've had to learn how to let go and not be so control freak and not be so controlling over everything in his life. I've had to learn how to call some things important and other things not important. The biggest thing that's going on with us right now is we're trying to transition Peter to living outside of the house. We have like a little house outside of our house, like a little mother-in-law, and we're trying to transition him to move there so that one day he can go into maybe supported employment. But that's been the biggest. It's so hard to see him it's only like 10 feet away from the house, but it's still so hard to watch him go. But I think those have been some of the harder things. Yeah.
What's one of the more rewarding things?
Oh my goodness, there's so many rewarding things. So many. Just Peter's online class, that has been a blast for us. It's so rewarding to see him. Sometimes I sit in the background and I listen, and his potential in that class is much more than I would have known that it was. It's just rewarding to see him just take initiative. He's motivated, and just does so many things. He and my sister are sports fanatics, one of his support people, and they go to the games. He doesn't wait for me or my husband, his dad, to go. They go and they do what they do and they come back. It's just rewarding to just seeing him as an adult and being independent and, his own mind, and, he spends his own money, he has his own debit card. And it's just very rewarding to see him growing up to being just a contributing member of society. He's doing a good job.
What are your biggest concerns about Peter's future?
I think the biggest, for sure, the biggest concern that I have, and I almost get teary when I think about it, is one day I won't be here. I won't be here, my husband won't be here, and maybe even some of the other support people won't be around. And so, how will his life be then? Because I think now he enjoys a pretty good life. A lot of people love him, but I've seen other people who, mother died or the primary caregiver died, and they are just kind of tossed around in the world. And so that's my biggest concern, that we have him in a place that he's, pretty independent before we leave Earth. For sure, that's my biggest concern.
What are your hopes for Peter's future?
Oh, I have a lot of hopes for him. I would like to see him, one thing, to go to Las Vegas and visit his classmates in person. We'll do that one day, just to be able to see him go to a Raiders game in Las Vegas one day, to transition on his own, to be independent, to handle his money. I'd like to see him have a family one day, a little family of his own, and he would like that for himself too.
And that's my next question for Peter, is what are some of your hopes for your future?
What do you want to do for your future?
Oh, my future.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to hit that think.
You don't know yet.
Probably King James, LA.
You want to go? You want to go see King James in LA too?
Yes.
Okay, we can go see him. What about? Sometimes you talk about getting married. We still think about that.
Yes.
Do you have a girlfriend right now?
Yes. I'm not highly Russian.
Highly Russian.
Tell me some of the things that you like to do to help out at home.
I go home, I read TV, I got my daddy, do stuff. I'm both out of my house. I got TV in front of me right now.
What do you like to do to help at home, though? What do you like to do to help in the house?
Oh, I help.
No, what do you like to do to help?
I found around three grandsons.
Law, play around with the grandsons. We have 3 nephews. He has 3 nephews. I have 3 grandsons. You like to play around with them?
Yes.
Do you have any special talents or anything that you enjoy doing?
Oh man, no high school and you for me. My friend danced off at no high school. I'm telling you now, I dance a lot.
For sure.
That's fun. Can you tell me a little bit about the transition that your mom was telling me about, going outside of the house and having your own space? What's that been like?
Oh, I'm trying to do it. I pay my gang and stuff. I got my house no while. I pay my gang no while and stuff.
It's been fun.
It's so fun.
Can you tell me a little bit about Peter's experience in school, and if what stands out the most?
He had some good and some bad. It was a variety, mostly good. I'll say mostly good. To be honest, when we moved here, we came from Chicago, which is a really big school system. and probably more advanced than we were, because Columbus is a small town. And I was expecting more inclusion, more that kind of thing. And there wasn't a lot of that going on around that time. And so it was a journey to get to where we needed to go. And each year seems to get better and better. And some of his teachers I'm very, very proud of, because they moved outside of their comfort zone to do things that they hadn't done in the past. Now, there were some teachers that couldn't, they were used to doing what they did. And so, but we had some teachers that moved outside, and because of that, Peter was rewarded. He had one teacher when he got around sixth grade age that made him read every day. Other teachers had kind of pushed it a little bit, but this teacher, Miss Broom, she was by far the person that pushed Peter the most academically. She made sure that he could read. She made sure. And so because of that, he can function. He can read the newspaper. He can keep up on the sports and that kind of thing. But it took some pushing to get us to that level. He had some really good teachers. He had some sweet ones that loved him. Some of them loved him so much until they didn't want to push him to do things, because he was always such an endearing child. Everybody loved him. He was, the prom, the homecoming king, the year that he graduated and all of that. And so he was like the beloved child at New Hope School. And some teachers loved him so much until they did not push him where he needed to go. And they thought that a lot of times that I was being unrealistic for what I asked for Peter. And my thing was, I'm not asking you all to make him into a rocket scientist, but I do want him to reach his potential. I want you to push him until he can't get it. And so academically, he ended up getting teachers that did push him, and that was good. And then once he got into high school, they kind of switched over to life skills. And then he got another really, really great teacher, Miss T is what the kids call her. She focused on life skills. And so I was pleased. The transition which they started at 14, that was pretty weak. And it was weak, and I didn't know which questions to ask. And I should have, my recommendation to other parents is I should have asked more people. I didn't. And so the transition was weak, and we are still in the process of trying to make transitions because of that. But it wasn't all bad. He had some really people that really did care about educating. And then we had some that that were old-fashioned, and they did it the old way. It wasn't that they didn't care, because it's a sweet school, but they just went the old way of doing it. Peter, the first year that he got to school, there were more toys in his classroom than books. And so, that was my first exposure to the school. And I was kind of vocal, and I just couldn't see a classroom with more toys than books, not even in a kindergarten classroom. And so those were some of the hurdles we had to overcome. But it turned out all right. It turned out good.
So Peter, what was one of your most favorite things about school?
That's easy. What was it?
Easy.
What was it? My most favorite thing?
I like a band, cheerleader, anything.
Exactly. The band, the cheerleaders, the ball playing.
Yeah.
Social butterfly.
Absolutely, all the way, all the way from day one.
What was some of your least favorite things about school?
My team, volleyball and football.
No, what didn't you like about school?
Didn't like school.
I think,
A volunteer school.
yeah, I guess. I think you liked everything. I don't think you did like it. Did you? You loved school. You want to go back, didn't you?
Speaking of transitioning to adulthood, and you were telling us about that experience, what advice would you give parents who are going through that with their child? I know you touched on that, but kind of elaborate a little bit more based off of the experience that Peter had, and where you saw where things could have been done better, and what advice would you give to parents who are in that early stage of going through that with their children?
I wish I wish that I had started early and did more research, talked to more parents that have been through the process already, because it was like reinventing the wheel. The same, once I started talking, I found out that other parents, it's almost like they say transition at 14, but it's just a paperwork. They fill out the paperwork and then that's pretty much the end of it. It's not a full transition. I just think that get with parents that have been through the process already. Just because it is the way that it is doesn't mean it has to stay that way, because when you find out, when the school system or anybody finds out better ways to do things, they need to change them. And so transition, for Peter, it was really weak. It was a weak, but I think that with push and with the right questions and right motivation, the school system will change, because I don't think they really want to put students out that are unproductive. That's an indictment on the school system. If everybody, you graduate with special needs, end up in a bad place and not in a good place. They want people productive. So I think that if we could just kind of motivate them, push them in the right direction, and talk to people early. Just 14 is, to me, too late to start a transition. Transition needs to start when they enter school, because at that point, you pretty much know what their abilities are and are not, and you tweak it as the years go. But I think the day that they hit school is the day that transition should start. What do you see? Just like the questions you're asking us right now, what do you see for the future? Those are the questions that should come every single year, not just when you get 14, because by 14, it's not, maybe not too late, but it's kind of too late. So I just would advise parents to start early and just be fierce and furious with your questioning and your, I won't say be mean, but you have to be kind of aggressive to get things done. Just because it is the way that it is doesn't mean it has to stay that way. Somebody got it the way that it is now, so somebody else can get it even better. So we need to push. It's a push.
I couldn't agree more. How involved was Peter with the planning of his IEP, which is the Individualized Education Program, for those that may not know that? Can you tell me a little bit about that, and if he attended any of those meetings, at what age?
Definitely he did. He didn't really attend a lot. Especially as a little one, he may have started coming when he got a little bit older, maybe 12, 13 years old. But and as he got older, he sat in on them. But I think I probably did most of the talking on his behalf. He always had a voice. He could say what he wanted to, but for the most part, I did most of the talking. And there were some times when we did not agree, and there were some times we did not agree, and it was not a nice meeting to be in. But he was there in most of them, and we always try to stay professional. But sometimes emotions get involved when you're talking, because the schools may see my child as educating them for that year. I see my child as you are educating him for life. And that's what I mean by we need to start early with transitioning, because everything that I see is going towards adulthood, not just towards fifth grade or fourth grade or third. I don't care about, as a parent, I don't really care about the grades, the grades that he's in. I care about what the outcome is as an adult. That's my whole, and it's that way for all my kids. It has nothing to do with special needs or not special needs. Everything that I do for my children when they were little are to the outcome as an adult. What kind of adult are we building? Not what kind of fourth grader or fifth grader. And I mean, the grades are okay, but the outcome is what kind of adult are we preparing? How are we preparing him for life? So yeah, we had some the individualized education plan IEP meetings. Sometimes we agreed, sometimes we did not agree. But yeah, I can remember sometimes that we really, really didn't agree. I had times when I had to bring advocates in with me, because at some point I was so emotional, and they were sticking to their side, I was sticking to my side, and we weren't hearing each other. And that's probably one of the worst things that can happen in an IEP meeting, is when the parents and the school district are not hearing each other. And so I had an IEP meeting, and by this time emotions were so high, and we had been going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And I called my friend that morning, and I called him like at 7:30, and I said, I have an IEP meeting today at 8:00. Peter was in probably about fourth grade, fourth or fifth grade that age. I said, I have an IEP meeting at 8:00. And it was about 7:30 when I called him, can you meet me? And he said, yeah, I can. And so within like 35 minutes, he met me at the school. And my mouth was poked out because by now I was mad at them. This was a speech issue, I remember. And I was mad. They were mad at me. They were saying, I'm asking you all, you asking me to do magic. And we were going back and forth, back and forth. And so my friend sat there, and he was like the interpreter for the meeting. I would say what I had to say. He would take it and twist it and say, what Norma is saying is this. And then they would say their part, and he would say, what Norma, what they're saying is this. And it was that day that we finally learned that we were on the same side. But it took a third person, a third party to come in, because they were mad at me, I was mad at them. It was not a good situation. Let's tell you about it. It wasn't a good situation. But because I called that advocate in. Advocates make a big difference. They don't take up for you if you're wrong. What they'll do is interpret for you. And that's what he did for us that day. And Peter got what he needed, and I understood them, they understood me, and we never had another problem after that. Never did. Not in the speech area, anyway.
That's a good transition to my next question is, what does being an advocate mean to you, and how do you advocate for Peter?
An advocate is simply speaking for those that can't speak for themselves. And for Peter, I advocate by trying to push him to speak for himself. Instead of me doing all the speaking for him, I'm just there to support him and let him know that, yeah, you can do this and you can say that, and I got your back. I support you. And I try not to take over, because Peter he can stand up for himself. I try not to take over, but my advocating for him is just making sure that he knows that he has my support.
And how do you help Peter to become a strong self-advocate?
Much the same thing. Just make sure he knows that he has the right support, and not just me, but my husband and his the group that supports him. They all support him in the same way. One thing we do is, instead of going to the store and getting his groceries for him, we'll take him to the store, give him his card, and let him go in and shop for himself, or go to another part of the store, because that's building confidence by letting him know that he can do this for himself, that kind of thing. Him cleaning up, and if it's not perfect, it's okay. You don't have to be perfect. Just knowing that you can do this for yourself is building confidence. And you cleaning up, sometimes he'll clean up, and it may not be up to my standards, but it's good. It's still good. It's perfect is not always, it's overrated sometimes.
And how important is it to have that good community support?
We wouldn't be the same family that we are without it. We definitely wouldn't be the same family. Peter has people that care a lot about him, just the doctors. I learned how precious doctors are from Peter, because they were just so loving and so caring, and they just went overboard, that kind of support. So yeah, it takes the whole community. We have a small little group called, it used to be, well, the name of it is Special Needs, Special Spirit. And it's a small advocacy group, and it's local in Columbus and around some of the surrounding towns. And we do bowling, We have the bowling league is about 16 years old now. We've been doing that for 16 years. We have a beauty pageant. Sometimes we do camp at the YMCA, and just those community supports, just being connected to the community for them just to recognize who we are and not think that we're different. They include us. We do the camp so at the YMCA so that the camp, our campus, people with special needs are the norm there, as opposed to them always having to fit in with somebody else now. And it's open to anybody, it's inclusive camp, but now we're the norm at the camp and everybody else can come and fit in. And so, yeah, that community support is vital. It's very vital. Other than that, you isolated and you're all by yourself.
Peter, can you tell me a little bit more about camp, what that's like?
The scene last year's because came in gym.
Did a basketball camp.
Oh,
What are
yeah.
you talking about? Oh yeah.
Yes, because Harris a good girls on the team.
That was pretty neat. We had basketball. That was one of the activities at the camp. The local high school, Columbus High, came and they did a whole basketball camp for us. Camp. We have what else we do at camp? We have swimming,
Swimming, volleyball,
volleyball. What else?
ball.
Arts and crafts. It's a really, really good camp. Treating people like they don't belong. That's a social injustice, to treat just because somebody has an individual or disability, why don't they belong? Everybody in the world is different. If everybody was the same, what a boring world it would be. But I've seen Peter even sometimes, depending on the environment he was in, and whenever we figure it out, we take him out. But I've seen him being very quiet in certain places. Like he volunteered for one team, and I walked in one day and he was just standing real quiet in a corner. And I knew something was wrong, and it was because the people probably didn't have any patience for him. They really didn't want him there, but they didn't know how to say that they didn't want him there. And so we eventually took him out of that situation. But it's just give people a chance before give them a chance before you prejudge them, because we have so much more to offer than what people know. And I just talk about myself. Before Peter was born, I had no idea, and I didn't have patience, and wasn't trying to figure out what people with disabilities were like. But once you have a child with a disability, you have to figure it out. But I was one of those ones that didn't. I wasn't mean. I just didn't have patience. I didn't have time. I didn't want to know. And so many people are that way. If they don't have to know, they don't want to know.
And what are some action steps that people can take to do better and to improve overall?
I think the biggest thing is just educating. Whenever you get an opportunity, just those teachable moments. For an example, I have a friend that had a young lady that had a stroke, and so she had some brain damage, and she did something at an airport that people didn't understand why she did. I can't remember what it was, but she did something that was kind of off, and people laughed at her, and she felt hurt because she couldn't help it. And my advice to her was, that was your opportunity to teach. A lot of times people are not being mean on purpose. It's because they don't know. It's just ignorance. And so every opportunity we have to teach. Some people will get it, some people won't. Even in the public school, and we need to start it as early as kindergarten. Peter always was in an inclusive class. Every single year he was in a regular classroom for a part of the year. And so every year we made sure, and those kids, Peter benefited, but those kids also benefited, because some of those kids still love him today. They grown people now, they're not kids anymore, but they still love him today. And because of that, they are more receptive and more open. And I think the main thing is about education, because I think more people will accept if they understand. A lot of people just don't understand. And maybe I'm being too pie in the sky, I don't know. But I think if people understood better, they would accept better. But people are just afraid of the unknown, afraid of the unknown.
I want people to know about Peter's capabilities.
What can you do?
Fine.
Yeah, fun.
Fine. Enjoy himself.
Yeah.
And I'm paid. So
Yeah. And I think I want people to know that there's more alike than different. People with disabilities are more alike than they are different. Just take a moment and try and figure out what they are, because we'd be surprised at how much alike they are than different.
Was so good taking the time to get to know both of you. And I want to thank you both so much for coming on today and sharing your story. And I know that the things that y'all talked about today really will make a difference in the people that watch this. So again, thank y'all both so much. And I hope y'all have a wonderful day.
Thank you, Brittany. Thank you so much. Have a good one.
thank you, Brittany.
Bye-bye.
Bye, Peter.